With 314 comes a huge change to ship combat. One of those changes, among other things, is capacitor gameplay. Energy weapons now have a set amount of shots they can fire depending on, among other factors, how many energy weapons are equipped. This means if you're trying to monoboat your Hornet with a bunch of energy weapons, you're only going to have a couple of shots in your attack before all the weapons need to recharge, compared to if you were using just one energy weapon, which would have a far larger shot pool. However, unlike energy weapons, ballistic weapons do not use energy, meaning you can place all of your power into thrusters and shields and can still fire your guns. This also won't affect your missiles in any way. This obviously would give a huge advantage to a player running ballistics, compared to the one running only energy. Well, how do we balance that? Ever since the holotable days of Star Citizen, ship weapons have stored their ammo on the weapon. This has never made a whole lot of sense, especially when you look at it from a realism standpoint, which I know a lot of you might cringe whenever I say that, but let's be honest, whenever you can hold 480 rounds of a 106mm cannon shell all in a gun, it has never made a whole lot of sense. And that's where we come to the idea of an ammunition slot on each ship and vehicle. An ammunition slot will act in the same way a ship component slot would, in that each ship is designed with one or more that can house ammunition. Here's how the ammunition slot would work. For example, let's use a Hornet. The Hornet has one ammunition slot. Like most ships, its size would for balance purposes. In this slot goes one type of ammo, so there'd be no mixing of ballistic ammo, at least not on a ship this size. Now you might be thinking that might incentivize people to keep monoboating their ship with ballistic weapons. Well, no, because that one ammo pool will be shared between all guns on the ship that use that same ammo type. For example, if we had a single Mantis on the Hornet and the ammo pool contained 3,000 rounds, that gun would have 3,000 rounds all to itself. If we have 3 Mantises on one Hornet, each gun then only has 1,000 rounds each to pull from. A system like this would very closely mimic the capacitor gameplay that limits the projectile count of energy weapons. Obviously, ammo counts for each ammunition container would need to be balanced from the current stats for this system. You could still monoboat your Hornet with 5 Scorpions if you want and potentially murder someone in just a few seconds, but you might not be able to do it a second time without needing to reload. Something else that could be interesting would be that on the Gladius, which is now gold standard, has a storage space. Potentially that means you could keep a spare case of ammo in there so you could land after an attack and swap out your empty can for a new one and go back out. Not keep giving CIG work, but each ammo can would need to list its ammo type and max ammo count on the outside of the can. Although they could easily get away with using the same overall model for each type of ammunition, only needing to swap out the texture each time, which could of course be a pain during development if they need to keep changing the ammo counts. This way, if you're in the middle of a fight on board your Hammerhead, you can run to the cargo bay and easily identify which ammo you are looking for. Now, larger ships could have more than one ammunition slot, like maybe a Freelancer has 2. So it could have one type of ammunition in one and a different type of ammunition in another to use between maybe the main guns and the turret. Having this type of gameplay will also introduce more for ship crewmen to do during a battle, like needing to run and replace an empty ammunition can with a full one they have in their cargo hold, or outright change the ammo type altogether during a battle to one that is more suited for fighting your current opponent. For larger capital ships, they might have a single ammunition slot for every turret scattered around the ship, rather than a single pool they all share. And for the really big guns, well, with the Perseus, we had already seen a dedicated ammunition system for its guns, so I expect to see something similar for other capital ships. As for vehicles, excluding the Nova tank, they would also need to have an ammo slot. But the size of the slot you might get on, say, a Hornet might be too big for something like a Cyclone TR. And that's why, for balance and design purposes, size 1 ammo containers would need to be about half the size of size 2 to 3 counterparts. And vehicles would have an ammunition slot half the size of a regular one to accommodate for this. That way you can fit a can on a Cyclone TR with minimal issues. But this would also have the added benefit in that you could carry 2 cans for size 1 weapons in one regularly sized ammunition slot. The Nova tank would need to have built a second ammunition slot just for its 40 cannon rounds. But this system doesn't come without drawbacks, which would be for balance reasons. The first one being that you are now holding ammunition on your ship, which if struck could potentially explode. You also have to take into account the added weight of carrying that ammunition, which would slow down your ship's maneuvering ability. Even if it was only a slight weight, that could very well be the deciding factor in some battles. A system like this could also introduce different ammunition variants for each caliber that we could swap around. You could have higher velocity rounds, slower but heavier cord rounds that do a lot of damage, or explosive rounds much like the Combine, just to name a few. If you like this idea, go ahead and share it, that way we can add another 3 years of development time to the game.